Yesterday, being Easter Day, I told you my story of how I became a Christian when my recently converted sister told me she had become a Christian. I'd never heard that kind of language before. In those days, if you were English, you assumed you were a Christian. But she came home one weekend from London, where she was living, and she said, "Can I speak to you?" "Yeah, I've become a Christian." Well, my parents were not Christians. We were not a Christian home. We'd not had an open Bible or anything of that sort. And she spoke to me about Jesus being alive. And to be honest, I was born of God. The testimony stirred my heart. I knelt. I received salvation. I felt something happen. A few weeks later, she was at that time attending John Stott's church, All Souls, Langham Place. And she said, "Come up to a guest service," which I did. I'd never heard the gospel preached before. And so it was magnificent to hear John Stott preach it so clearly. I went forward. I didn't need to, in that I knew I was now a Christian, but I just wanted to nail it. It was such a thrill. Shook the great man's hand. Shortly afterwards, I found a Baptist church not far from my home. And the man there was a beautiful pastor and a great preacher. He really made the Bible live. And so I was there most Sunday mornings. To be honest, that's about the only thing that actually changed outwardly in my life. I was living a double life for quite a while. I had a group of friends in my teenage years, and we'd been together for some years. I didn't want to lose any of those friends. I didn't want to lose that lifestyle. To be honest, I was somewhat captivated by it. And so I lived two lives. I was in church on Sunday, but the previous night I was probably out drinking. I was partying. I was often out getting drunk. I was often gambling. I was in another world altogether, really. And then one Sunday morning I was in church and the assistant pastor was preaching. And he preached a sermon which turned my life upside down. He preached, I would say now, out of context from Galatians, where he preached, "You did run well. Who has hindered you that you no longer obey the truth?" I felt so undone. I felt I was the only guy in the building. And I felt God was speaking to me. Now, I'd often been convicted before. I'd tried. It's been like 4 years now of this double life. And I'd often had moments of conviction trying to do better. But this time it was so serious. I felt God was saying to me, "I want your life. And I want it now." And even felt he was saying this, "And I won't speak to you about this again." And it really scared me that God had said it enough times, as it were. This was the last opportunity I had. Well, I went home and knelt by my bed and gave my life to God as far as I knew how. I said, "Right from now on, Lord, whatever you say." I did lose all my friends, which was very sad. I went through a season of, terrible loneliness, to be honest. It was quite hard to find friends in church life in those days. There was a little board on the wall. It said, "Do not speak in the sanctuary." How do you make friends? How do you get discipled? Well, come back next Sunday, hear the pastor again. He was always edifying. But I was welcomed to the home of the boy who'd preached, the young man who had preached. Actually, he said to me, "I prayed so much that week. I felt the young people's group was so backslidden." I said to him, "Oh, did you pray for me?" He said, "No, I didn't pray for you. You were beyond hope." God's so merciful for people beyond hope. What a great God. What a patient God. What a loving God. I can't thank him enough for really speaking into my life.